Hey there, Wondering Watchers. Welcome to this pick a card reading that explores how a particular person from your past would react if you reached out to them. Regardless of the reason why you reach out, whether it's to simply say hello or to dig deep for information or to apologize for how things left off, this reading reveals how they would respond and how that communication would affect them. Keep in mind that these cards only provide perspective. You have agency over your life and you make the decisions about how you experience it. It's your choices and your actions that lead to the ultimate truth of your situation. For those of you ready right now to discover how someone might respond if you reached out, the link to each reading is in the description box below. If you're new to pick a card readings, I'll go over the process. I have in front of me 4 piles of cards. In pile number 1, we have Dream Vision Tarot. Pile number 2, Blooming Cat Tarot. Pile number 3, Tarot Disassembled. And pile number 4, the Light Seer's Tarot. Go ahead and pick the pile of cards you feel drawn to the most. If you are hoping to hear a specific message that you don't receive from the reading of your initial choice, then feel free to pick another pile. So if you don't get the message you were hoping for in any of the readings for the piles, then it may not be for your best and highest good to hear that particular message at this time. If you need more time to review your deck choices, then feel free to pause the video. Once you've made your decision, go to the description box and click on the link for the corresponding pile. But now it's time to tap into the cards, choose your reaction revealing tarot adventure, and let's make magic happen. Welcome back. This is a reading for group number 1, those who picked Dream Vision Tarot, to explore how a person from your past would react if you reached out to them. So I'm going to shuffle this up and let's take a look. You have the 7 of Wands. So your past person, they are looking at where things left off between you as being a situation where perhaps they felt, or both of you felt, that you were kind of doing things on your own, having to kind of really either defend or deflect certain, not necessarily accusations, but kind of questions about how the relationship was being prioritized. So in terms of their initial reaction with you reaching out to them, you have the King of Cups. So they're going to come from a place of warmth and emotional stability. They are going to be supportive, friendly. So let's take a look at what they'll be reminded of. You have the 6 of Swords here. So you reaching out to them is going to remind them of kind of their need to move on, how perhaps there was some, turbulent times that they were going through, either while you were connected or either due to your connection. But they will be reminded of how, they had to move forward and things, got better. Might not have been exactly what they wanted, but it's what they needed. So you have here the Ace of Pentacles. So the feelings that will be stirred up by you reaching out to them is a feeling of like a new beginning, a feeling of appreciation of something potentially coming out of the situation, whether that's a new respect for the connection you did have, or potential for a new connection between you. That's kind of the feelings that are going to be stirred. So with Page of Pentacles, the overall attitude that they'll have during the communication is a sense of like appreciation. It's similar to this Ace of Pentacles, but really kind of taking things in, learning from the communication, and like really appreciating you, your connection, the things that maybe you are bringing up, and maybe excited and curious about where things might go. So you have this support card. They'll be curious if you are contacting them because you are offering support or you need their support. Perhaps they were someone who really was there for you, and they are curious to see if that's something that you're looking for. You have this chemistry card. So they'll also be curious to know whether or not there is still chemistry between you, or if that's even what you're interested in. Differences. So they'll kind of wonder whether or not the things that maybe pulled you in different directions, if those will kind of come up during the initial communications, or if those are still issues between you. And you have this card of control. So if you reach out to this past person, they are going to, question whether it is an attempt to kind of control like how things are going with them, control the framework of your past connection, and not necessarily in a really forceful way, but in a way of kind of having the upper hand. Maybe that wasn't an issue before, but it seems that your past person is a little bit more aware of things that are unsaid, or things that are not outwardly expressed. So let's see what else we have here. You have this Sun Source card. So you reaching out to this past person is going to energize them. It's going to have them kind of look at the things that you want to communicate through your eyes to a certain degree. They kind of are going to be focusing on how maybe they presented themselves to you, or how they appeared to you. You have this Venus Beloved card. So your past person is going to be wondering whether or not there is still something lingering between you two, if it was superficial, if it became too much of a focus, if your connection became too much of a focus, whether it was healthy or unhealthy. That's something that they will be kind of trying to figure out. You have this first house of arrival. So again, how they're being perceived, how you perceive them when there was a connection, and how you're perceiving them at the time that you reach out. They're going to be kind of taking whatever is said and kind of along the line of this sun source. They're going to try not to have too much of their ego involved, but it's going to be flattering to them regardless of, the reason why you might want to reach out. And you have this Capricorn Achieve card. So they are going to be kind of thinking about how they really had, maybe goals, either personal goals or connection, a goal for the connection between you in the past. And it's going to bring up those concepts for them again and kind of reflect on, what it is your connection brought into their life, help them, accomplish in life. You have the dog, loyalty, belonging. So by you reaching out to them, they are going to feel a sense of companionship with you and a sense of really, regardless of where things go, a feeling of being connected and I guess proud or happy or glad that you did make a connection at one point. You have here the crossroads, road opener, decisions. So if you reach out to this past person, they will kind of wonder whether or not the things that they did or said in the past was the right thing. They will kind of wonder how things would have gone if different decisions were made. So let's see what else we have for you, group number 1. You have crimes of passion, jealousy, dangerous urges. So you reaching out to them, it might bring up some issues of past jealousy, along the lines of this Venus Beloved card, whether certain feelings were, superficial, really unimportant, jealousies, if they were more deep-seated. And you have the horseshoe, luck, chance. So group number 1, by you reaching out to your past person, they're going to take it as kind of a sign or an omen that their luck is changing. And, possibly, depending on how that communication goes, maybe there is a luck for, the reconnection that you have. So I hope this provides a helpful perspective of how your past person would react if you reached out to them. We'll see you next time. Take care. Welcome back. This is the reading for group number 2, those who picked Blooming Cat Tarot, to explore how a person from your past would react to you reaching out to them at this time. So let's take a peek. You have the 6 of Pentacles. So the perspective of where the connection between the two of you had left off, they believe is in a place of possibly them giving a bit more to the connection, and doing that because they felt that you would at some point in some way return that investment. And it could be in terms of buying things, doing things, paying attention to you, but they felt like they were the one who gave a little bit more when things had left off. So you have the 10 of Wands. The initial reaction that your past person will have for you reaching out is a sense of kind of burden. It'll weigh on them. It'll feel like, there's more that they have to give or more that you want them to do. So, in terms of what they'll be reminded of about the connection, you have the King of Swords here. So, they'll be reminded of, communications that were honest, almost business-like discussions, whether it had to do with, why things weren't working out, or whether it had to do with just an assessment or a discussion overall of what your connection was or wasn't. They'll be reminded of almost like the business transaction discussions that you had. So in terms of feelings it will stir up, you have the Two of Pentacles. So group number 2, you reaching out to this past person, they will kind of feel their emotions kind of going back and forth, feeling like, certain wants or needs that they had either were addressed or not addressed by you. And it'll be a sense of them kind of feeling an instability, but trying to do everything they can to kind of make things work or come to a resolution. So here you have the Knight of Wands. Overall, their attitude during the communication with you would be a sense of them really trying to put in effort and energy and interest in, what it is you want to say, interested in knowing where this might lead, at least open to that. So let's see what else we have for you. Group number 2, you have this Open Up card. So they will be curious to know whether you reaching out to them is because you are going to be the person to give them more information, to give back, to give explanations, and possibly to this Six of Pentacles, the way that they felt things had been left off, to address that. And you have this Gifts card here. So they will be curious to know whether you are going to bring up that concept of reciprocity, what they gave versus what you gave to the connection, and whether, that was maybe even not only honesty in a business-like transaction, but emotionally honest about what you felt like you didn't get, or you were trying to get, or what you were trying to give, along those lines of, the exchange. You have Soul Connection. So they will be curious about whether or not there is a soulmate connection between the two of you, because your connection does weigh on them. It is something they wanted to put energy into. It's something that they did. They wanted to, support you. They wanted you to kind of accomplish what you wanted in life. And you also have this support. So really, they do wonder if you reaching out to them is because you recognize they were really supportive of you, that they really did did want the best for you, that they did what they could, and that maybe, recognize that they feel that they did a lot and might not have at least recognized or felt they were getting the same support in return. So you have solar flares activate. So group number 2, you reaching out to this past person is going to kind of ignite their emotions, their energy. It is going to even have them possibly think that they can carry things on more. Like they, in terms of this 10 of Wands reaction to you reaching out, they are going to feel this Knight of Wands kind of surge of energy and curiosity. You have the 11th house of community. So group number 2, your past person is going to be processing this communication from a point of view of you being a person that is someone who they do feel is part of their, I'm not going to say just friend group, but their support group. They are looking at it from the point of view of how you can fit into their world going forward meaningfully. You have this square, semi-square, quincunx tension card. So they are going to feel a little bit of discomfort and tension, and feel like there's, a weight being put upon them that they might not necessarily have been expecting or ready for, but they are going to take that communication as a catalyst for growth. Something that's uncomfortable but will help them be stronger going forward. You have this 3rd house of communication. So group number 2, your past person will also really appreciate the fact that you reached out, and overall be kind of processing that discussion, or however you're communicating, whether it's through email, text, phone call, in person. They will really take that and add that to their mental notes of, how words can really shape perspective, change people, affect emotions. So it's really going to affect them on different levels. So let's take more of a look at kind of like how they'll be affected. You have abandoned plantation, dismantling, and ugly truths. So the communication will actually have them, possibly take a look at what your connection was, and, look to see what expectations were there. Kind of look at the foundation of where things kind of started off, and if there were, cracks in the foundation, they should have noticed, sooner. You have cowrie shell, passion, feminine power. So group number 2, your past person will, along with the surge of energy, feel like a surge of passion. You just reaching out to them is going to be, in a way, you putting in that effort that maybe they felt they wanted you to do more of. So they'll be in a position to actually receive this time. And so that will kind of, allow them to tap in a bit more to the emotional side, the tender side of themselves. And I'm actually noticing that up here there's not any cup cards. So it might be that this person, maybe they are hoping that you open up, but it's also going to open them up, whether they expect that or not. You have this Hellhound Cruelty Fear Tactics card. So to some degree, your past person is going to be wondering about whether or not there are certain boundaries that either they had or you had that they should have kind of approached, in a different way. Maybe had let their guard down a little bit, and kind of wonder if maybe having a better sense of healthy boundaries could have, changed things. And you have the peach, fertility, love. So by you reaching out to this past person, they are going to be left with a sense of appreciation, enjoying like the good times that you two had together. Really recognizing that even if things aren't, don't work out the way you expect or want, that there is definitely, good times, sweetness, and, things that really are why you kind of like part of the reason why you go through life is to find those like moments of joy and connection and love. And so that's going to be something that your communication leaves them with. So I hope this provides a helpful perspective of how your past person would react if you reached out to them. We'll see you next time. Take care. Welcome back. This is a reading for group number 3, those who pick Tarot Disassembled, to explore how a person from your past would react if you reached out to them. So let's take a look at what we got. We have Knight of Cups. So the perspective that your past person has of where the connection between you two had left off is one of, a romantic, loving connection with, kind of like dreamy, like possibilities. So let's see here about their initial reaction to you reaching out. You have the High Priestess. So they will really kind of tap into that sensitive, emotional side of themselves and their intuition. They won't, really be too judgmental. They'll just kind of be open to, what it is that you're bringing to them. And they might keep some things that they're thinking to themselves. So we have here the 7 of Pentacles. So group number 3, you reaching out to this past person, they'll be reminded about how there seemed to be a point in the connection where maybe things weren't going the way that they had hoped or expected, or kind of just weren't really seeing the potential that they once saw in that connection. So you have the Three of Swords, and you reaching out to them will stir up feelings of, past disappointment, hurts, betrayals, upsets. So let's take a look at the overall attitude they'll have about the communications. You have the Seven of Cups here. So overall, it's kind of a sense of, more of this kind of dreamlike potential situation. It's kind of, they'll be wondering what it is that will come out of it, or, maybe they'll have different ideas of why you're contacting them, and it'll kind of flash through their minds. And it's probably why they'll be more just receptive and not really sharing too much, because they're going to be kind of trying to guess what's going on. So you have this card of forgiveness. So group number 3, you reaching out to them, they're going to be curious of whether or not it's because of forgiveness, regardless of who needs to forgive or who, has forgiven, that will be something that is on their mind. You have this card of fear. So they'll also be curious as to whether or not you reaching out to them is something that, is not necessarily a good thing. They will, in all these kind of wondering the potential reasons why you're reaching out, also, think that there's, some not great reasons why you're reaching out to them. So might be a little scared. You have this spark card. So group number 3, along with the fear, they're going to wonder if you're contacting them to see if there's still like chemistry between you two. If there is still any remnants of that initial spark. And then you have this card of security. So you reaching out to them, they will kind of, even though it's all over the place, in terms of what they're going to be wondering, there is going to be a sense of, I guess, being curious if you are contacting them because you are in a place where you feel more secure about who you are and the connection that you two once had. So let me go ahead and shuffle up this deck and keep going with how your past person's going to react. You have Mars motion. So group number 3, you reaching out to your past person, they're going to be processing the communication in a way of kind of being curious if there's something that they need to do. It's going to stir up a lot of like guessing for them and feelings of past, hurt and upset. So they're, going to be processing this communication from a perspective of what can I do with this communication? How can I use what's being communicated to actually do something? Maybe they're going to need to, using it as motivation, either for something they need to do in life, or maybe how they approach people going forward, or even possibly to, make things better between the two of you. You have this moon perception card. So group number 3, your past person really is, maybe they're someone who is sensitive, someone who is kind of like a hopeless romantic, or more of has a childlike sense of wonder. But basically, they are going to be kind of caught up in their emotions from you reaching out to them. You have the 9th house of exploration. So group number 3, they are going to also be kind of wondering if, like, how you're reaching out to them is going to impact their views of the world, the views of themselves, views of how people kind of either are, meant to find each other, meant to learn lessons from each other. It's going to kind of build into that more what's the word? The imagination, that fantastical aspect, and kind of use that you reaching out to them as a way to kind of like wonder about the world and their place in it and meanings and so forth. You have this card of Saturn and structure. So your past person is going to kind of, again, not only look at how you reaching out like provides meaning and connections to their place in the world, your place in the world, something greater than yourselves. It's also going to kind of have them really, again, look at the day-to-day, the routine of life, and how certain ways of looking at something or not looking at something can result in affecting emotions or perspectives in ways that are either intended or not intended. So they're really going to take you reaching out to them as, like, looking at it from a philosophical viewpoint, from like how humans interact. It's gonna throw them into like an emotional and spiritual frenzy almost. So you have here roots, influence, support. By you reaching out to them, they will really be affected in a way where they see how, again, a small, maybe not a small gesture, but a seemingly small gesture of reaching out to someone from the past can really affect them. It can really, depending on how that communication goes, it can really lift them up or bring them down. You have the raccoon, curiosity, perseverance. So group number 3, your past person will be affected by you reaching out to them in a way that they are going to be very curious and really like exploring all these cups of like why it is you communicated with them. What is it that you maybe truly want but didn't really say, or wanted to say and didn't? Again, they're going to like examine and re-examine this. You have the Copperhead, deception, bad influences. So to some degree, they are going to, in kind of reassessing whatever communication you have, they are possibly going to look at it from a darker fear. This fear, it seems like they might hold on to that, and at least some version of why you're reaching out, or um, the purpose or the effect, they are going to kind of be left with um, wondering if there was a negative intention in that. And here these wanted to come out. You have pine cone, third eye, new perspective, and the candlelight, spirit, virtue, oppression. So again, group number 3, this particular past person is very, very sensitive. They are very much someone that examines things, not only curious about how the world works, but curious about how much they can sense, like with this high priestess, how much they can sense either what you were going to say, or like kind of like if they knew that you were going to reach out and how things would go. But to a certain extent, they have not necessarily attention, but certain expectations even of themselves that really maybe they aren't aware of, or they haven't been able to really identify, but to some degree it really does affect how they experience life, how they interact with people. So almost, I would say, if you have no intentions other than to say hi, or whatever the intention is, perhaps being just clear about what that is, so your past person doesn't have to go through so much of a mental gymnastics. But it seems like regardless, even if you were to say this is exactly why I'm reaching out to you, they would probably go through the mental gymnastics of it anyway. So I hope this provides a helpful perspective of how your past person would react if you reached out to them. We'll see you next time. Take care. Welcome back. This is the reading for group number 4, those who picked the Light Seer's Tarot, to explore how your past person would react if you reached out to them. So let's take a peek at the perspective of where the connection between the two of you left off. You have this Death Rebirth card. So it seems that your past person kind of sees the place where you left off as being, kind of growing, possibly in your own directions, and letting go of your connections so that something new can come in. So in terms of their initial reaction to you reaching out, you have the tower, not the terror, the tower. And basically, they might, if you were to send them like a text or maybe call them, they might not necessarily answer right away. It's going to be like a kind of a sudden change for them. It's going to be unexpected, kind of out of the blue for them, and kind of shock them, take them by surprise a bit. So you have the Justice card here. Now you're reaching out to this past person is going to remind them of, certain outcomes, like more of a judicial handling of things. Perhaps this is of you both making this decision to no longer communicate, or perhaps this was in terms of the communications you last had. Perhaps they were very honest and kind of cut and dry. So it's interesting you have these 3 major arcana cards come up so far. So let's take a look at the feelings that you reaching out will stir up. You have the Page of Wands. So you reaching out to them after they, go through that initial shock of you reaching out, they are going to really be curious. They're going to want to see where this is going, and it's just overall excited to connect. And in terms of the overall attitude they'll have about the communications, you have this Knight of Cups. So regardless of how things ended, there is still a sense of caring and concern, and like an emotional connection that's there. So group number 4, let's explore further. You have this chemistry card. So they're going to be curious about whether there's still chemistry between the two of you, if maybe that's why you're reaching out, if you're curious about that as well. You have this commitment card. If commitment was a big issue in why you no longer connect or communicate with this person, they're going to be curious if this is something you want to explore or discuss, talk about. You have security. So group number 4, they're going to be curious if you are contacting them because you are feeling more secure about yourself, your place in life, or even possibly, offering something to them in terms of helping them feel secure. And you have this card of mystery. So your past person is just going to be overall curious in general, but almost in a hopeful, playful way. To some degree, it's as if this will have them look at you with a new appreciation, a new set of eyes, so to say. You have this Saturn structure card. So you reaching out to them, they're going to be processing that communication in terms of like, how does this make sense from a practical point of view? What is it like practically that you are contacting them for, and kind of figure out where to file it away. If it's kind of, if it's the functionality of it, if it's just to check on them, if it is to assess old feelings or continued feelings, but they are going to be looking at how they can categorize this contact. You have the 11th house of community. So group number 4, they're going to be seeing you reaching out to them, possibly as you wanting to kind of possibly just be friends with them, or maybe if there is like a common friend or group dynamic, trying just to make things okay. between that among the group so it's not weird. Again, kind of looking at the functionality of it. You have Mars motion. So this past person that you might reach out to, they're going to see you reaching out to them as, a possible motivator. Again, either like a motivator to start things up again, or move in a more, not just start things up, but move forward in terms of where things had left off. And maybe this rebirth being a potential of, letting things go at that point, with the possibility of them kind of moving forward, jumping forward at some later point in time. And you have North Node future. So group number 4, you reaching out to your past person, they are going to be looking at how this is going to not just be an initial communication, like where it's going to go, like how it's going to fit into their life, how it's going to possibly restructure or redefine your relationship. Is there going to be more to that story? Or is it just going to be a story of the past? So here you have Wild Violet, self-actualization, individuality. So you reaching out to your past person, they are going to really reflect on themselves. It's going to bring up a lot for them, not just about the connection that you had, but who they are as a person, what motivates them, what it is that they want to be surrounded by, what goals they want to accomplish. You have the Vampire Richmond, ego, narcissism. So to some degree, they're going to be wondering if there's a part of them that turns you away, turns you off, that they didn't see before. And that maybe this communication might have nothing to do with them. And they'll wonder if it is just them hoping or expecting that, you contacting them means something. But they'll also kind of reflect and wonder if they put too much stock into it. You have the Bayou, emotions, manifestations. So group number 4, if you reach out to this past person, it is going to stir up a lot of emotions for them. They are going to, look at things in potentially new ways, kind of poke around in those emotions, see what they got right, see what they got wrong. And this is kind of like overall that communications of they still care. They still see potential for a connection. And you have abandoned plantation, dismantling and ugly truths. So group number 4, your reaching out to your past person is going to affect them. Like I said, they're going to be poking at things, re-examining things, and seeing whether or not, they overestimated something, underestimated something, didn't see something clearly, and, wondering if there's something about themselves that they should change going forward, and seeing how their connection with you, maybe they in the past didn't really do these types of assessments, but you reaching out to them will kind of bring this up for them this time. So I hope this provides a helpful perspective of how that past person would react if you reached out to them. We'll see you next time. Take care.